Hi everyone. Thanks so much to you that have managed to make it, and thank you for braving the Mumbai traffic. What a that has been a learning experience for me. I think the record we have in the room, for the benefit of those online, was a 2 hour and 10 minute journey to make it here this evening. So that's really fantastic. Kind of. So look, my name is Dan. I'm the Director of Partnerships and External Relations at King's Business School. I've worked at King's for 7 years. And as I was just saying to someone a moment ago, I have the great pleasure of absolutely loving my job. So it's a pleasure for me to be here, and it's a pleasure for me to be able to welcome you and everyone online as well. And I do just want to say a particular welcome to those from Delhi online. Sadly, we had to cancel the Delhi leg of our trip this time, which I think is a huge source of regret for me, for the team here, and everyone at King's. But we've got a lot of love for all of our community in Delhi, and we'll be back again there very soon. I'm here with Rupinder Morrow, who's a senior careers consultant at King's Business School, and also our fabulous colleagues Palak, Sonu, and Dolan, who've supported so much of the school's work and progress in India over recent years. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about King's, a little bit about the business school, and then I'm going to hand over to Rupinder and some of our fabulous alumni to have a panel discussion about careers here. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things, financial things, if you like. So the college is redoing or reinitiating our VC scholarship to support students in India. So scholarships are available up to £10,000 for Indian students. They're available to all offer holders from India. And actually added to that as well, I don't have a slide about it, but the business school also has an extensive scholarship portfolio as well to support students from India, but also from around the world as well. So please promote that to your networks loud and clear. I think it's a fantastic benefit and a great thing for us to be able to support a community of students here in India. Couple of updates from King's. So you may have seen this in the news, you may have seen it on the King's website, but King's has made a huge investment, £45 million in interdisciplinary science. So that's to grow our power and our strength across the sciences, not just each of the sciences, but how they interact with each other. And that's going to support teaching, research, but also innovation and commercialization of the great things that come out of King's. And on that note, King's has also become one of 9 AI hubs for UK research and development, which is something I believe is happening in India as well. I've heard that there are similar AI hubs happening across the country as well. Some people I think haven't been there for a while, or maybe haven't seen this at all, but this is what the Strand used to look like. This is what the slightly life-threatening situation used to be, from crossing from Bush House over to the Strand. It's now our huge pleasure to say that you are less likely to get hit by a bus. Because this whole area has been pedestrianised, and the pedestrianisation of a town centre is kind of a bit of a running joke in England. But I trust you, this is actually exciting news. It's a beautiful space, and it's not just a beautiful space for King's. It's brought our campus together, but it's a beautiful space for London. And Londoners walk through there, and you see it showing up on Instagram, on Twitter, people talking about what a difference this has made to this whole part of London. So look, I'm here from the business school, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about kind of who we are and what we do. So there was a Department of Management and Business at King's for about 28 years. And in 2017, the decision was made to launch a business school as a full faculty. Many reasons why you do that as a university, but the one that I really wake up every day and get excited by is the challenge of getting the university and King's into different parts of society and the economy as a business school that maybe other bits of the university can't reach. And I see our role very much as a flag bearer for a fabulous institution. And actually, the growth that we've experienced over the last 7 years has been pretty extraordinary. So when I arrived, there was around, I think, 50 academics and 30 staff, and maybe about 1,300 students. And today, there's 170 academics, over 100 staff, and nearly 3,500 students. So we are now, by numbers, one of the largest UK business schools. And I'm happy to say it's not just a numbers game either. We're actually a really good UK business school. We've achieved the Triple Crown of global accreditations, which has helped our less than 1% of global business schools, and we're top ranked in the UK, and our student success and our student rankings are improving year on year as well. This is what we look like in numbers, and I think one of the really exciting challenges for us ahead is how do we grow again? How do we continue to be innovative while becoming not just bigger, but I think a more innovative and a more relevant business school to the UK, but also to the world as well. One thing I would highlight is we launched an executive MBA a couple of years ago. It's now in its second year, which is a huge statement of intent, I think, for a relatively new business school. And actually, it's not just a kind of executive MBA to train people that want to work in corporate banking or private equity. We love those guys, but actually one of the things that is really important to us is responsible business and responsible leadership. And our MBA, our executive MBA, is constructed to help develop responsible leaders at the apex of organizational leadership. And I thought it might be worth just telling you a little bit about what it's like to learn at King's Business School. So Rupinder and her colleagues have actually developed a 4-credit module within the curriculum to support students' career readiness. This is a pretty revolutionary thing at a university like King's. Actually getting practical learning, professional development in the curriculum is an incredible thing. And I think it really represents the spirit of the business school, which is all about students and all about what they want to go on to do, and we'll hear more about that later. But I also just wanted to highlight we do some really cool stuff as well, which I think is nice. So this is Oliver Glasner, the Premier League manager of Crystal Palace. He came in to talk to our students about leading multicultural teams and team leadership, which was great. And then you can't see him behind that box there, but that's Sumit Vamani, who's the Chief Marketing Officer at Infosys, a really fantastic global marketing leader who came in and did a roundtable session with our students. Both of these things happened in November, by the way. I didn't want to show you things from last year. It gives you an impression that these things are an ongoing occurrence at the business school. So look, I guess that brings me on to why we're here. Yeah, India is an incredibly important place for us. And actually, just earlier today, I've been talking to some of you about this. We're at NMIMS tomorrow, seeing HR College and a number of other local colleges. We really want to establish great relationships with academic institutions, with industry, and also our alumni in India as well. And to do that, we need to find out actually, well, what does that relationship look like? So as you can see, we've got a lot of alumni in India. By the end of this academic year, I think business school alumni will be about 1,000 in India. We've got 175 Indian students studying postgraduate and around about another 25 studying undergraduate this year. So the numbers are growing year on year. So we asked our alumni community, what do you need and what do you want from us? And the answers, I think, were fascinating. And part of the reason we're here today is to understand that a little bit better. So our alumni community told us that there's lots of goodwill. They love King's, and I hear that this evening. They want to get involved, and they want to stay connected and contribute in some way. But there's two sides to that coin. And what we also heard is that our alumni community want to be brought together. They want networking opportunities, and also really, really keen to stay connected to the school from a career development perspective, which we agree is really important. And I think wrapped around all of that is the need to be present. So doing everything digitally. London is far away, right? So doing things locally in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, wherever, but also in Shanghai and New York, wherever else. Super important that the alumni community sees King's in their patch. So that's something that we want to do more of. Now, I think it's also really important to say as well that I won't dwell on these slides here. This just really goes through some of the things that we heard from our alumni community. I'll maybe leave this up for you to have a little look at. But I'm here talking from the business school. I love the business school. I'm a business school person, but King's Business School is for everyone, right? It's not just for business school alumni. So many of our alumni who work across our fabulous faculties, they study in computing, in geography, in social science or public policy. They may go on to be an HR leader or a marketeer. The business school is here for you as well. It's not just of and for our own alumni. So look, I'm very, very proud to announce that one of the things that came out of the alumni survey was our desire to start a dedicated business school international alumni council. And we're going to start rolling that out and set up dedicated chapters for alumni activity. And India is a really, really key part of that. So we'll hopefully be coming back next year, April, May, to actually launch either or possibly and a Delhi and Mumbai chapter for our alumni community that will help catalyse more regular engagement and involvement with the school, but also with your local community. And I should say as well, that's actually being led by a King's alumna. We should be putting something out on LinkedIn to announce her appointment as the inaugural executive chair of that new initiative soon. So look, as I say, the business school is here for everyone. So feel free to click on that. Follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Instagram. Loads of cool stuff happening, loads of opportunities for you to engage in our work and get involved and connect. We're always here. Rupinder's always here. Palak, Sonu are literally always here as they live in Delhi and Chennai respectively. So please always feel that that we're here for you, whether you're an alumni of computing or law or anywhere else. So look, thank you again for coming. Thank you to the folks online, and I'm going to hand over to my colleague Rupinder Morrow to talk a little bit about careers before we have a fantastic alumni panel. Rupinder.
So just to repeat that, so thank you so much, Dan. So my name is Rupinder Morrow, and I'm one of the senior careers consultants working at King's Business School, King's College London. And I am absolutely delighted to be in Mumbai. Disappointed that we didn't make it to Delhi, but really pleased that we've got people in the... Can you hear me? Yeah, they should... is that better? That's better. We're absolutely delighted to be in Mumbai. The Mumbai trip involves sessions like this, career sessions, it involves alumni panels. We're also offering careers consultations to our recent returnees to support them with their career journey and navigating the Indian market. And we're also doing some employer visits just to really start talking to employers about the King's Business School, King's College London profile, and really trying to improve employability for our recent returnees. Okay, so just to make a start, yeah, I mean, this is really important, right? So we want to support students returning home. We know that students that study with us at master's level or undergraduate level, we know the market is tough in the UK, right? It's tough to secure sponsorship. It's tough to secure graduate level employment on the graduate route visa. So it's so important for us to be supporting students to return to home countries, whether those home countries are India or China or America or anywhere else in the world. That sort of global career support is something that we've really sort of increasing in recent years. Just want to take a moment really to reflect what's brought you to the workshop today. Is it that career exploration piece? Is it career transition? Or is it the opportunity to network with your peers? Just really want you to take a moment to reflect on what's brought you here and also to reflect on kind of your main concerns about the India job market. And maybe think of questions that you either might want to ask me during the session, or you might want to ask our phenomenal alumni who are here to join us in about half an hour to share their insights, to share their advice from their own experiences, and hopefully their perspective will help shape your career journey. The overview of the I want to take you through the India graduate market. What are the current trends? What are the key industries? What are those skills gaps? Yeah, and how might you fill them? And what might your career paths look like in India? We want to help you find opportunities. Now, lots of those opportunities will exist on job boards, but actually there is a huge hidden job market in India. So we want to help support you with accessing that hidden job market through your networking strategies. We also want to ensure that you're able to fully leverage your King's experience. So that's not just the educational experience and all of the academic learning that you've sort of acquired during your time at King's, but it's also all of those extracurricular activities that you've engaged with, and also those professional and work experience opportunities that you might have engaged with during your master's or undergraduate studies. What might that experience look like on your CV? What might that experience look like when you're conveying it during an interview? We also want to help you understand the compensation norms in India. So the compensation norms in India are very different to those in the UK. Okay, so we want to be able to provide you with the confidence to articulate your full King's experience when you're negotiating your salaries. And finally, we want to look a little bit at that reverse culture shock. So what sort of things can you be doing to ensure that you transition successfully back to family, friends, and also your professional work life in India? So understanding the job market, well, we know that it's undergoing, just like all global markets, rapid change. And that rapid change is particularly in the technology use space, is particularly in automation, green transition, and diversity. So what sort of markets are opening up? Well, certainly in terms of information technology, we're looking at software development, we're looking at IT services, and we're looking at cyber security. So those are the three areas of significant growth. In terms of e-commerce, we're looking at online shopping, online retail, we're looking at logistics, and we're looking at digital payments. In the healthcare space, we're looking at pharmaceuticals, health tech startups. And in the financial services space, we're particularly looking at fintech, we're particularly looking at digital payments, and we're particularly looking at insurance. So those are the 3 or 4 significant growth areas in the finance space. A typical selection process, so this is very much for those graduate entry-level roles. If we're looking at the larger global graduate recruiters, they'll certainly be expecting you to submit a CV, perhaps even an online application. Some recruiters will be looking for a cover letter. That first stage of the selection process might be online testing. It could be numerical, it could be verbal. Fizza and I were talking yesterday about the gamification space, particularly with recruiters like Goldman Sachs. So you need to be prepared for these stages of the recruitment process. If you're successful with the online assessment stage, the next stage might look like a video interview. It might look like a telephone interview. Now, these are quite difficult spaces to navigate successfully, particularly that higher view video interview, where they're not just looking at your responses or listening to your responses, but they're also looking at things like your eye movements, your overall balance or emotional state. They're looking at the speed of your delivery. So there's a lot to consider in these spaces. And hopefully the session today will help you prepare for that. If we're looking at MSc students with a couple of years of work experience behind you, then we're potentially looking at a CV, a very tailored CV. We may not be looking at cover letters, but we're certainly looking at 3 or 4 rounds of interviews. So the session today will particularly look at how to really articulate your King's experience, your international experience on your CVs, on your written applications, and also interviews. And hopefully you'll find that helpful. In terms of an international degree, well, it certainly offers all of these things. It offers potentially the opportunity for international work experience. It also offers you the opportunity to really develop global networks. But we also know that the Indian market is highly competitive. It's highly competitive because of a couple of things. Firstly, it's the sheer number of graduates. So when I did research on this space, 8 to 9 million students graduate from Indian universities every year. Now that is a lot of graduates, and it makes for a very saturated market. But we're also looking at very, very specialized skills. So recruiters are looking for very specialized technical skills. This is a very, very long list. They're looking for evidence of learning agility. They're looking at cognitive skills, team working skills, project management skills, data interpretation skills, and critical thinking skills. Now, you need to ensure on your applications at interviews that you are evidencing these skills. And that evidence needs to come from every aspect of your life. It can't just be from your education, from the academic learning. It needs to come from things like your work experience or any other work-related learning that you might have done at King's. It needs to come from any volunteering activities you might have engaged with. It needs to come from membership of clubs or societies or positions like student representative. So recruiters in India are looking for the full package. So really do reflect back. What did I do while I was at King's? And how am I best able to demonstrate to recruiters that I have these skills that they're looking for? Because if you're able to do that, you will have a real edge in what is a very, very competitive and saturated market. Does all that make sense? Yeah? Okay, so moving on. Your job search strategy is absolutely key. Okay, and these are some of the things that I think will be really beneficial. Okay, so firstly, I would really encourage you to start reaching out to family and friends. Reach out to family and friends for referrals. Reach out to family and friends for job leads. I deliver a lot of alumni consultations where students have already returned to home markets. Now, whether those home markets are India, whether they're the States or whether they're China, what I tend to find is students say, I've applied for 150 jobs and I've not heard anything. When they bring their family and friends into the mix, they often get job leads. They often get referrals, and that's your foot in the door. So it's really important that you do start very soft. You know, it's not a big ask to reach out to family and friends, but firstly, it could definitely result in job leads. But what it will always do, it'll improve your understanding of the role and sector. That mere conversation with someone that's already working in the sector. What that will then help is the language that you're using on your written applications. That will help with the language that you might take to interview. If you're already speaking the same language as required in that role, you're going to be able to establish fit that little bit better. Okay. The second thing that will really support you is by joining King's Connect. This is a platform that's available to all King's alumni. Okay, it will help build your professional network, but very, very importantly, there's lots of mentoring opportunities on this platform and professional development opportunities. A second thing that I'd really encourage all of the alumni in the space today is subscribe to industry publications, join online forums for the sectors of interest, okay? Because you do need to ensure that you stay up to date on industry trends, whether that's in fintech, whether that's in healthcare, whether that's in marketing. Okay, you're able to then have those sorts of commercial understanding and awareness conversations that you need at interviews. I'd also encourage all of the alumni in the space to join as many networking events, okay, industry conferences, careers events. Again, this is really going to help with that commercial awareness piece that you can then take to interview with you. Utilize LinkedIn. So really engage with LinkedIn, build your professional network, reach out to alumni from King's College London, working in your chosen areas, reach out to industry professionals, okay? Building this network is going to be really supporting you when you're trying to identify people that work in certain companies, maybe to have a conversation prior to interview. Now, what's really key here is those personalized invitations to connect, okay? If you're reaching out to industry professionals or you're reaching out to alumni and you use the standard LinkedIn invitation to connect, you're not going to get a response. If you personalize that invitation to connect and find some common ground, okay, then you're more likely to get an acceptance on that, which you can then follow up with a message. And I'll talk through someone's LinkedIn strategy in a minute. And also consider internships and contract roles. Okay, this will enable you to gain some local work experience, B, build your professional network. And very importantly, C, it will give you access to the internal only jobs board. Okay, so it's that foot in the door that's really important. This is one student's story. So this was a recent MSc Banking and Finance student, and it was her strategy for success. So when applying for jobs, she researched, I'm struggling to read this, when applying for jobs, she initially researched her own network, okay? Now this alum completed an MSc in Banking and Finance in 2023 to September of 2024. She initially applied for quite a lot of jobs in the UK market, but with little or no success. So she decided to return to India late August of 2024. She started making applications in the first 2 weeks of September 2024. She had her target list of companies, and it wasn't that big. I think she had about 15 companies on this list. Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, I think she had Societe Generale, EY, and a few others. Yeah. She very, very sort of diligently went through her own network to identify people that worked in those organizations. And she wasn't just looking for anyone. She was looking for two things. She was looking for seniority, ideally at hiring manager or above level. And she was looking for people that were very active on LinkedIn. And the active on LinkedIn was very, very key because she wanted them to see that she was very engaged on LinkedIn, that she was always sharing really, really relevant posts, that she was always commenting on people's posts, that she was always liking people's posts. What she did with the people that were in her own network is she sent a very sort of, a very considered sort of message, basically saying that she was interested in a particular field, a particular area. This was her profile. She'd just completed an MSc in Banking and Finance, and she'd got strengths or skills in these areas. And she asked them if they would like to see a copy of her CV. And most responded really positively. If there was an organisation of interest where she didn't have anyone in her own network, she sent a personalised invitation to connect, detailing very, very similar things. This resulted in about 8 interviews for her, okay? Interviews that perhaps she wouldn't have got had she just applied via the LinkedIn portal, or had she just applied via Indeed India, or some of the other job boards out there, okay? So there was this extra touch that she did, yeah? Now, some of these recruiters weren't even advertising roles, okay? But she knew that there was always opportunities, okay? Now, where she didn't have somebody in her LinkedIn profile, in her LinkedIn sort of connections, she used really precise terms in the search engine. She put things like liquidity risk at EY India, which generated a number of individuals. And again, the key thing here was that she prioritized the ones that she sent a personalized invitation to connect, using things like, well, who was the most senior and who was the most active? Okay. In the end, she started as a finance risk specialist for Goldman Sachs, Bangalore in October of 2024. But she received about 6 offers in a very, very small window. Okay. So what I'm trying to stress with this story is that your strategy is really, really important. Okay. What probably won't work is making 150, 180, 200 applications. Yeah. What will work is being quite selective in who you apply to, but following up those applications with this sort of strategy, okay, where you're identifying people. So here's some actions just for you to consider, okay? I'm not expecting you to go away and do all of them, but maybe you do want to think about sending out maybe 5 personalized invitations to connect, in companies of interest to alumni. That would be a really sort of low stakes action, okay? A second action might be to approach 5 family or friends, okay, potentially for job leads or referrals, okay?
Another one that I think would be quite good is maybe to identify some networking events or industry conferences that you could attend. Okay, this will certainly build your network. It will build your commercial understanding and awareness, and it will also really support in that demonstrating of learning agility that we know Indian recruiters, in fact, global recruiters, are looking for. A fourth thing that you could do when you're at the application stage is maybe even do what our Rashika did, you know, the Goldman Sachs success story, which is actually sending some invitations to connect, the very cold invitations to hiring managers or people of seniority in the organizations of interest. Okay, so this is just some actions, and the copy of the slides will be available for you maybe to consider those. So we know that employers are looking for these skills, very specialized technical skills. We know that they're looking for cognitive skills, that critical thinking, the data and project management skills, and we know that they're looking for team working skills. So how might you demonstrate these? Well, one of the first things that I would do on your written CV, on your applications, is don't just list the MSc in banking and finance. Don't just list that you completed a BSc in economics and management or whatever other course that you did, but actually on your CV have a few bullets. Okay, and those bullets could include relevant modules. We don't want a long list of 18 modules or 9 modules or 10 modules. You have to be very strategic. You have to include maybe 3 or 4 module titles that talk to the role that you're applying for. Okay, that is really key. You might want to have a second bullet. Technical skills is up there as one of the most sought after skills by Indian recruiters. So you might want to list some of the technical skills that you developed during the course, your course. Was that Python for Finance, MATLAB, Python, C++, whatever software you've developed during your 1-year master's or 3-year undergraduate studies. A third bullet is always your dissertation title, or perhaps you did some sort of consultancy project or brief. Okay. And a fourth bullet would definitely be grades, scholarships, prizes. So people are really keen to hear this success. Another way of demonstrating the skills that recruiters are looking for is through the professional experience, through your work experience. So did you, during your time at King's, engage with any work shadowing, virtual internships, insight weeks? And if you did, list them in your professional experience section, but the bullets shouldn't be a long list of duties and responsibilities. That's what we need to move right away from. The bullets should be your achievements in that role. Okay, so if I was to say you completed that 8-week internship, where did you add the greatest value? What impact did you make? And when you're describing these achievements, add some figures. That adds credibility and weight to your story. So this is what recruiters want to see on your written CV. Okay, detail your program, detail any internships or work experience that you did in an achievement, impact, results focused way. The next thing that I would do on my written CV is I'd certainly think about those wider skills that recruiters are looking for. The critical thinking, the problem solving, the data and project management. And how can I evidence that I have those skills? So think about every aspect of your life. Yeah. Think about the societies and clubs that you might have been a member of or even taken a position of seniority in. Okay. And also, try as much as possible to get that cross-cultural competence in, that adaptability. So where you are sharing any stories that will demonstrate that you have that skill set to really work with people from a variety of different backgrounds, really important for the Indian economy to know that you have that skill set. Okay, because what they want is they want people to join their teams that have a slightly different outlook, a different perspective, something different to offer them. So if you can mention this kind of international exposure as much as possible, peppered right the way through your written application, your CV, then it is going to be a much stronger application for recruiters to read. So that international kind of competence, that cultural competence piece, it could be demonstrated through group assignments that you might have done. Yeah, there's lots of group work that King's College London offers. Okay, there's so many skills that you would have developed during those group assignments. Again, positions of responsibility, student rep roles, part-time employment offers that sort of ability to really develop your adaptability skills and work with people from a variety of backgrounds. So interviews, I'm not going to spend too long on this slide because I'm sure that all of you have had interviews, you know, so far, but really important that you research the company, okay? And that goes beyond what you're reading on their website, okay? How does that organization make its money? Have a look at the company accounts, okay? That's a really good sort of way of demonstrating that you've gone the extra mile on the research piece. Speaking with EY or a representative from EY just earlier, EY are really interested in, you know, you being a good cultural fit for them. And the only way that you're going to be able to demonstrate that is by talking to as many people who work for EY. Okay, so it is that research piece. It is following them on LinkedIn. You know, LinkedIn is a place where we all like to shout about our achievements. What's gone really well? Well, let's get it on a LinkedIn post, right? So if you're following that organization on LinkedIn, you're going to be able to really keep on top of what's important for them. What are they really proud of this week, last month? And if you can weave that into your interview answers as a real motivation of why you want to join them, then your application is going to be much stronger. I'm saying the next thing because I was talking to a student earlier today and they said, oh, I just don't really know which division of finance I'm interested in. I'm interested in investment banking, but, you know, well, is it front office, middle office, back office, infrastructure, risk or trading? You know, what do you understand about these different areas? And they really didn't know. So where I would signpost students who probably need to develop their understanding of different roles is Forage. Yeah, Forage is an amazing platform for virtual internships. They're all free. There is no application process. It's a mere registration process. But through studying these most of the commitments are between 5 and 7 hours, maybe 9 hours, maximum 11 hours. But by, you know, completing a virtual internship with Goldman Sachs or Citibank or Google or Amazon, you do develop a really rich understanding of what that day-to-day in that role looks like. So I would really encourage the alumni in the space, either on the live stream or physically in the space, if you're not quite sure, you know, what career you're interested in, complete as many of these virtual internships as you have time for, and really expand your understanding of different areas. Practice really common interview questions. If you can really nail the tell me a little bit about yourself, walk me through your CV. What are your main achievements that would be really relevant for this role, right? These are just introductory questions, but really good for you to practice answering those questions. Because if you answer the opening question really well, then you go into the rest of the interview really confident, right? And it tends to set the tone for the rest of the interview. Prepare for technical questions, okay? Because you will always be asked technical questions. So really important that you are confident answering them. And have a look at websites like Glassdoor. This is a fantastic platform where students share questions that have come up in their interviews, okay? Also, prepare really thoughtful questions that you might want to ask at the end of the interview. So when I often ask students this or alumni this, and I say, well, okay, so how might you close it? You know, would you like to ask me any questions? And I'm being the recruiter here. And they said, no, not really, because they just want to run out the door. You know, it's been a really stressful experience and I've had enough. I just want to go home and cry or have a large glass of wine or whatever else it might be. But actually, it's your last opportunity to really reiterate your interest, your enthusiasm, your passion, and your real want for this job. So do not fly out of the space, right? But do think about questions that you might want to ask, and they don't. No one at the end of an interview wants to be asked a really technical question, because actually it's really exhausting being an interviewer as well. And you're not the only candidate of the day. We've probably interviewed 8. Fizza's laughing at me because she's recently been the interviewer, haven't you? But you know, you don't want to be answering a really technical question, but you might want to answer a question like, I can see on LinkedIn, i.e. I've done lots of research on you. I can see on LinkedIn that you've worked for EY for 6 years. What have you most enjoyed about your role? As an interviewer, that's a really nice question to answer. I've already been quite carefully selected to be your interviewer as an ambassador for the organisation, right? They've not just picked someone who hates their job. They've picked someone who is really enjoys their role, right? To be on this interview panel. So it's going to be a really nice question for me to answer. Okay, other questions could be, can you describe the working culture of the organisation? That's a really good question, because actually it's really difficult to really understand the culture of the organisation by reading. The only way you can really understand the culture of an organisation is by talking to people. So again, by you asking that question, it's demonstrating that I really want to fit into the culture. That's really important for me. So I'm going to ask you that question, because it's not just about whether you like me, it's whether your response to this question will mean that I enjoy working for you. Okay, so again, recruiters often like you asking that question. So that's just a few tips. Follow up with a thank you email. It's a really nice touch, okay? Because remember, you know, you weren't the only candidate, okay? Probably had 10 candidates, 7 hours of interviews, you know, really exhausting day. Your inbox is now really full because you've got loads to catch up with. And then all of a sudden, pop, someone says thank you. And that's a really nice touch, okay? Okay, so this is just a list of job boards, and I'm sure that you're already really familiar with them. But I've really just picked a few that definitely talk to graduate entry-level roles like Freshers World, like LIM jobs. But I've also I'm talking to some that are specific to certain sectors. So DevNet is particularly good for consultancies, international development work, and I've also picked a few that are very good for startups. Again, the slides will be shared at the end of the session, so you will have this long list of job boards. But remember, it's not just about the job boards. It's your networking strategy that will give you access to the hidden jobs board, and also strengthen your applications or CVs that you submit for advertised roles. Please don't just submit a CV for an advertised role without all of the other stuff, right? Okay, salary negotiation. Like I said, I've done quite a lot of consultations with alumni. And one thing that actually has come up time and time again is that salary negotiation piece, because I think in India, more so than in other countries, they often ask you what your expectations are. Whereas in the UK, the salary tends to be set, okay? So it's really important before negotiations that you research market standards. And there's a couple of sites that I'd really recommend you use, Glassdoor and PayScale. I'd also encourage you to talk to as many people doing the job that you're applying for, just to get a feel for what the going rate is. It's really important that when you're negotiating your salary, you really talk about all of the skills, all of the strengths, all of the learning, all of the global cultural competence piece that you've developed as a King's College London student. And that will really help with the negotiations, okay? So here, you can't really see it, but, you know, for very entry-level roles, we're looking at 4 to 9 lakhs. The Goldman Sachs lady recently secured 24,000, okay? So 24 lakhs, which is actually a really good salary, right? She had about 18 months of previous work experience at RBS. Okay, so it wasn't too long. and that was straight after her master's. The last thing that I'm going to touch on before I talk a little bit more about the ongoing career support for our alumni is really about this reverse culture shock and some of the sort of associations or forums or groups that you can join in order to really ease that, right? Because what we do here is that sometimes that reconnecting with family and friends that might have slightly different values to you, the hybrid or lack of hybrid working, those slightly lower salaries than maybe what your peers are getting paid in other countries. Strategies to overcome this might be to join some of these networks and forums. And again, I've just picked out a few. There's an awful lot out there. All Kenya women-only professionals. We've got Delhi Startup Connect. We've got Indian Development Sector, Head Start and Meetup. So hopefully this will support you as you return to India and very much, you know, it's all about kind of staying connected, isn't it? Right? So how can King's support you? Okay, so we are very, very, very keen on working with our alumni, and there is an awful lot of support available. Okay, so as an alum, you have 2 years access to career coaching appointments. And now we're very much in that virtual space. So, you know, half of our consultations delivered on a daily basis are virtual and half are delivered in person, right? So you have access. You have access to 20-minute career guidance consultations. You have access to 40-minute interview prep consultations. You also have access to lots of career and skills building workshops. So whether that's on perfecting your CV, or whether that's on online testing, or whether that's on group exercises at assessment centres, we have got skills workshops and careers workshops on every stage of the recruitment process. And again, over half of these now are delivered virtually. Okay, so we do have a lot of alumni engaging with them. We have lots of employer alumni events and global careers fairs. Okay. And these, again, some of them are virtual, some of them are face-to-face. Okay, so we are going to China, I think, next, aren't we, Dan, in the summer to do a whole load of careers fairs in China in partnership with Imperial College, with LSE, with Cambridge, with the UCL. So it's a fantastic collaboration. It'll have us in country in Shanghai and Beijing. And we're hoping to do more and more and more of this in country. We have a jobs board that you have access to, and increasingly that jobs board is advertising global opportunities. So we are moving away from a UK-centric kind of career service to doing a lot more support for our alumni in country and a lot more opportunities that take us to all over the world. We also have a couple of digital platforms. CareerSet is a great tool that alumni can use to help them build and continually tailor their CV. You can upload a job description, okay, and get a percentage score on how that CV compares to that job description. We also have Shortlist Me, which is a really good tool for you to practice answering video interview questions. You can record yourself, watch yourself back, because most of the learning is when you watch that recording back. You know, very few students and alumni actually know what 2 minutes feels like. So when you're given 2 minutes to answer a question, you know, it's more like 1 minute, 10 seconds, right? And if it's 1 minute, 10 seconds and your competitor has answered in 2 minutes, they're going to be scored on 2 minutes worth of response, whereas you're going to be scored on 1 minute 10. So you need to understand what 2 minutes feels like. You need to ensure that you're looking in the camera. You need to ensure that your background and sound is all really strong. We need to ensure that your eye movements are not all over the place, that your hand gestures are not exaggerated. There's so much to consider, but only by recording yourself will you really get a feel of what that looks like, okay, for the person that's watching or for the algorithm, sadly, that's scoring you. We also have our King's Connect platform. So really encourage all of our alumni to join that platform. Stay connected, learn about professional development opportunities, and also grab a mentor, right? Why not? It's all available to you, isn't it? Okay, so how might you access all of this support? Well, actually just create an alumni profile. Okay, so there's the QR code. You just create an alumni profile on the King's Careers Connect platform. Okay, if you need accessing any of these resources, please do contact KBS Careers at kcl.ac.uk. The team that I work in will be able to pick that up and support you with any access issues. And also, we're always interested in our alumni. We're always interested in you becoming our panel members, in you becoming the people that actually present to our prospective students, to our recent returnees. So please do keep that in mind with the alumni events at kcl.ac.uk. And that really nicely brings me to the next part of this evening, which is to really warmly welcome 4 phenomenal alumni who are giving up their time to share their stories, their King's story, and also the success that they've achieved in the Indian job market. So welcome on stage our alumni. Lovely. We've got microphones just on the sides. Lovely. So we have got with us today Shayoni, Priyanka, Fiza, and Ayushi. So a massive welcome to all of you. And I wonder whether we could just start off with each of you maybe just giving a short introduction, what you studied at King's maybe, and also kind of where you're at currently. Lovely. Do you want to begin, Shayoni? I think it's working. Let's try.
Yeah, so I am Shawnee. I did my PhD in economics from King's Business School. I started in 2019, finished in 2023. And here I am working for the Reserve Bank of India since 2012. I joined after my master's. I was there for almost 7 years. And then I decided to do my PhD from King's, and then I resumed in January 24. So that's about me.
Lovely, thank you. There's a microphone for you all. Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you, Shirley.
Hi, everyone. My name is Priyanka. I am one of the recent alumni. I completed my banking and finance, the MSc, in January this year. And I returned to India in February. And after 6 months, approx in June, I started a job with MSCI as a data analyst. And yeah, I'm working currently there. And apart from that, I also have completed CFA level 1 and currently pursuing the level 2 scholarship, for which has been kindly given to me by King's.
Thanks, Priyanka. And
hello, everyone. It's lovely to be here. I graduated with an MSc in Finance Analytics from King's in 2020. I was the first batch of the Finance Analytics course at King's, and it was a lovely experience. I had quite a journey since then. I started out as an investment analyst, and now I work in the climate space. I work as a senior associate for the Indian Association for Private Equity and Venture Capital.
thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Ayushi Patel and I did my MSc in International Management and I graduated in 2022. And after that, I joined a startup over here and I was there for about 9 months over there. And I actually wanted to shift into a different space because that was something I was not really looking at. And to further my skills, I'm also doing my CFA level 2 as well. So yeah, I'm just currently studying for that and also alongside looking to get a job in finance.
Lovely, thank you all so much. So I've got a couple of questions that I've already prepared, but then I will move over to the floor for any questions that you have. So one of my first questions is, how did your experience and education at King's College influence your decision to return and shape your career path in India? Who would like to go first on that one? Yeah, lovely. Thank you, Fiza.
Weirdly enough, when I joined King's College and I did my degree, I was the only Indian, which in a data oriented degree is not common or natural. I remember the professor who took the first lecture also pulled up saying, asking about no Indians being there. And I raised my hand saying, hello, I'm here. And I was the only one there. And it was amazing to meet so many people from different walks of life who came together, because King's was one of the colleges that allowed you to pursue a master's that was rather technical, because in India, you don't do a technical master's if you don't come from that same background. And we helped each other along the way. The TAs were extremely helpful. And that collaborative nature that King's delivered was something I think that I took very seriously, and I brought it back with me here. So now, irrespective of the main focus of my job, I will always interact with people from different teams, and the sort of team building skills that, the interactions at King's and the course delivered was something I think that stood out for me, and I take with me as far as I go.
Lovely, thank you so much. And yes, I do agree. At King's, there is lots and lots of opportunity for all of you to really develop your team working, your group interaction, your leadership skills. And that's something that's very, very important to King's. So thank you, Fizza. Bianca.
So life at King's was great. Let me begin with the amazing faculty they have. Great lecturers, great, your professors are writers of some amazing books out there on finance. So it was truly amazing to sit in their classrooms and listen to them and learn from them. Apart from that, King's offers you, so I will speak more on the finance background because I was in the business school doing a very technical course. King's offers a very amazing infrastructure. For example, the technical lab they have equipped with Bloomberg terminals. It's just good to be equipped with all these softwares, because when you get to the workplace, you know what language everyone is speaking, and it's just easier to blend in and give your ideas out. So in that way, King's helps the students amazingly with all the infrastructure that they have. And the group sessions, as she rightly mentioned, way too many group sessions for you to be involved in and build on your communication skills. So I think, yeah, that's the biggest plus you get in King's.
Lovely, thank you so much, Shayoni.
So my PhD experience, it was like an intensive experience. I did participate in many of student groups, and what it really brought out in me, I would say, is like, who am I? What do I think? My individuality, and also my ability to connect with people, which I brought back to my job. And yeah, I take it forward with me.
Lovely, thank you. And Ayushi?
So I think I agree with Fizza and Priyanka as well, that the course at King's was very hands-on, very practical. You interact with, I think, everybody in your course. And I think that is one of the best experiences that you can get. You learn a lot about teamwork. And I think that's something you're going to use all your life. Also, when you, I think when you've studied in India, it's a lot of it is book studies, or a lot of the management courses that I spoke to a lot of people from other universities were also really theory based. And King's offers, a lot of practical case studies that you solve. So I think that was a really, really good and interesting thing. And I think that helped me a lot to, interact with people, and hopefully will help me more in the future.
Lovely, and I couldn't agree more. I think, the King's College London courses are quite unique in the opportunities that they provide for students to develop their team working skills, to develop their collaboration skills, to have opportunities to really engage with the software and the technical skills sort of side of things. So it is a whole package, and all the way down to what Priyanka was talking about as well, in terms of that work-related learning piece and the opportunities to get involved with things like case studies. So that's really lovely to hear. Can I ask you, what was the biggest cultural or professional shift you experienced when transitioning back to the India market? Did any of you experience a sort of shift there? Or
For me, it was the salaries, to be very honest. My peers who stayed back in London were in a very different space than I was, but their cost of living is also very different from what I have now. So I guess in the end, it does have a balance. But I think the salaries and also the working hours in the UK, you're not expected to work beyond the time stipulated. In India, you're on the clock 24/7, and you have a certain number of holidays that you're not allowed to take, and there's a whole so the salaries and the work ethic is very different.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that can be a real challenge for our returnees, you know, because the starting salaries generally in the UK for a graduate or from, you know, from an undergraduate or master's course tend to be over sort of 35,000. So it is difficult then to return to India and be looking at sort of 9 lakh or something in that region. The hours, well, the hours can be fairly long in the banking sector in the UK as well, particularly in investment banking. So I think that can be across the piece, but yeah, the hours are much longer than maybe your standard 9 to 5, 9 to 6, aren't they, in India? So yeah, both are challenges. Priyanka.
I think, as you rightly pointed out, banking demands those kind of hours. So I think personally, I was very prepared for it in the UK market or the Indian one. But in terms of cultural shock, I rather have a different opinion mainly because of the company I'm working with. It is a very global firm. It's headquartered in New York, and I'm directly dealing with the London team. So the way UK companies work, or one perceives that they would be working. I personally feel it's the same environment I've been getting here. So I think it's a very positive thing for me. Even after the shift, I think it's a brilliant place to work in.
Fantastic. And Shayoni?
Yeah, I agree with Priyanka. I didn't face much of a cultural shock because, you know, Mumbai is also a mix of so many cultures, and same as London. So it was quite easy. And in fact, like being in London helped me mix up more when I came back to Mumbai with different communities and cultures. So I didn't really find a difference, like culture shock. And yeah, the salaries are always balanced by the cost of living. So
Yeah,
I think I'm better off here that way.
Yes, that's very true. And Aishi, so you were working as an analyst for a while, weren't you?
I think I agree with them, but also I would say maybe in terms of decision making, I feel like in the UK it's a little more dispersed, and maybe freshers are given that power to make certain decisions, whereas here, I think I don't think freshers have that confidence, and it's usually they have to go back to their seniors and maybe speak to them, and all the decision making mainly lies with them. So I would say that, yeah.
Yeah. And it can be very, very different in the UK, because I think in the UK, certainly you're given quite a lot of early responsibility, and you're given, or certainly, employers are very reliant on you using your initiative and bringing change. So yeah, okay, that's really interesting. We talked a lot in the presentation today about the importance of a networking strategy, of really having quite a developed professional network that you can really utilize when you're doing your research for applications, for jobs, for interviews. How did you go about building or maybe re-establishing your professional network upon your return to India? And any tips that you can share with the alum in the space today?
So, networking, I think, is the most beneficial thing you can, it's the most crucial part of a job hunt process. If we're talking about the UK market, obviously, as she pointed out in the slides also, LinkedIn is an amazing way to reach out to people in a very professional way. And when it comes to the Indian market, it's exactly the same. I would say, like, my company is currently in some hiring process, and they're very open to talking about, reaching out, if not to the recruitment manager, but to also the lead manager of the department you want to work in. So you can direct your messages towards them also to get a better response. So yeah, networking, I think, is very important.
I think, yeah, networking, and also, like you mentioned before, talking to friends, families, people who are working, I think that helped me a lot, because when I was in the process and right now when I'm applying, I think you don't hear back from companies as quickly. I think it takes a lot of time. Sometimes you don't hear back at all. And
yeah, I think when you speak to somebody who's already working there, maybe, they can give you a better idea of the roles and also maybe refer you. I think that is really helpful. So I think, you should talk to everyone that you can. Yeah.
Great. Shania?
Okay, so before proceeding further, as I represent a regulator, let me say that whatever I'm speaking is my personal opinion and does not represent the views of RBI. With that being said, RBI is a public body. So if you're definitely networking will help you find out what the roles are and what it is, like what the work culture is. But, there we have our entrance test and interviews. So, it's very different from private companies. So networking will not have much role until you clear the entrance test. But then again, there are various different roles. So where you want to apply, what time you want to apply. So there a bit of networking might help you out. So it's very different. So I thought it's important to point it out.
Thank you so much. And yes, it's very challenging to get into your bank with all of the high expectations on entrance exams and the marks and things. But certainly even that networking might support, like you said, in terms of just a better understanding of how the bank operates and the culture within the bank, right? And Fizza, how did networking support you?
For me, I say when you're looking for a job in India, you're playing a population game. The statistics will tell you the amount of people applying for jobs abroad and in India are extremely different. And every company looks at something different. So I feel while you have to network, you have to stand out. You have to speak the language the recruiter is speaking. You have to sort of resonate with them so that they remember you. And then it goes forward. And like Shawnee said, networking may not help, but the standardized test for RBI could be very different from the one for McKinsey. And networking will help you understand what you're getting into. So irrespective of whether networking and if there's a standardized test or not, you have an idea, you know what to expect. And that's always helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you share any specific strategies for navigating or engaging with professional communities or alumni? So Fizza, we were talking a little bit over dinner, weren't we, about the sort of importance of that sort of reaching out to potential recruiters for advertised or unadvertised vacancies, right?
So I've changed 4 jobs in 3 years. I'm on my 4th. And all my jobs were through networking, were through reaching out to people. And out of the 4 jobs, one wasn't even advertised when I got it, my first job at Barclays. And it's always about, like I said, speaking their language and resonating with them. You have to build a personal connection because there's a million people looking at the same job as you. Once you're in the job, you prove your worth. And if you don't, there's a million people to take that job from you. This is India. But I think reaching out not only to senior recruiters, but also people within the team that you want to work in. It shows, your commitment towards the specific business strata that they have. And, like you said in your presentation, highlighting your thesis, highlighting projects you have done that resonate with the work. Even the virtual internships really do help a lot. If you have certificate courses that resonate with the job you're looking for, of course, highlight all of that and adapt it. Companies like Goldman Sachs, Barclays in India are massive. The teams don't necessarily communicate each other. So I would say go the extra step, reach out to people from multiple teams, telling them how committed you are to working with the organization and with them. Go through their LinkedIn, look at the work they've done, highlight the work you think resonates most with you, saying, say if they worked on a renewable energy project, a solar energy project, you go speak about that project, show them you are interested in what they've done, you know about what they've done, and there's a reason you're there. So I think networking blindly won't lead very far. I think very strategic communication and focusing on what you want, knowing what for that, knowing what you want is important. Once you know what you want, focus on what you want and go for it. And more than networking, build the personal relationship. There's so many people on LinkedIn, everyone's networking, everyone's reaching out to each other. So build the personal relationship, keep in touch, and don't let the relationship die out. You never know when what will come up.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, the first stage of the process is really that career decision-making stage. You've got to be absolutely sure that that particular role is a good match for your strengths, for your skills, for your interests, for your knowledge base. Because at every stage of the recruitment process, they are going to be continuously trying to understand what is driving this application. You know, what is really motivating this application? So you have to demonstrate a real understanding of the role, and you have to communicate that A, you understand the role, and B, you're really motivated to do this job. And networking can certainly support with that. Okay, it will support with your understanding. It will support with you identifying the right language to establish fit with that role. And ideally, beyond that, with that organization. Okay, lovely. So I'm just going to ask one last question before we do move to the floor. What advice would you give to recent returnees? So you've all returned in the last sort of maybe 2, 3, more recently, you know, with you, Priyanka. You've all returned and obviously started very, very successful careers in very, very large organizations or smaller organizations. What advice would you give to the returnees sitting here today?
I think to everyone who's returned, it's first of all a very brave decision to be back here and, dive yourself into this Indian job market, which is very competitive. It is also very wise to take a step soon enough when you know that the UK job market might not be that fruitful for you anymore. And after like a 50 or 60 applications, you know what the situation might be. So instead of sitting there and applying for the next year's grad scheme, I think you should focus on gaining more work ex, be it internships or be it a good job in India. So according to me, valuable work is what you should focus on. Whether you're getting it in UK or India, just take it up. Because as a fresher, how are you going to grow? You're going to grow based on the value you can provide to the organization. So yeah, I think value work above anybody, above anything else, wherever it be, maybe.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's really important for you to get that foot in the door, gain some work experience, whether it's contract work, whether it's an internship, doesn't matter where globally it is, but get that foot in the door and get some experience behind you. Anything to add? Any final tips from you, Shayoni?
Yeah, I think it is. I agree. It's a very brave decision, and I think it's a very good decision because, you know, there are challenges to settle down in a new country, being an immigrant. So you have all that strength once you're back in India. You have the good education from King's, and you know, India is a growing country, happening country. So I think it's a good decision to return in time and start your career here.
I think it's a really good decision. And interestingly, I've been working with a couple of Italian students recently, Italian students who are new to their King's Business School MSc Finance program. They're like, oh my God, you're going to India. You have to come and tell us about the India market. We want to work in India. So they see India as the China of 5 years ago. And they actually want to start their career in fintech in India. They're desperate. And this isn't just one. This was a whole load of Italian students that we've recruited this year. And I was quite surprised to hear that. But it is because of the sheer amount of opportunity that India has to offer in that fintech space, in that digital payment space. So it's a very attractive space to be, which sadly adds to the competition. But, you know, this is where it's at the moment. And, you know, it's a beautiful country. So anything to add, Ayushi?
Yeah, I think you mentioning that was also one of my reasons to come back is the opportunity, because India is still like, an emerging market and UK is an established one. Other than that, I would just say that maybe give it time and don't give up. I think there are days when I still feel like, oh, I wish I could go back, or I'm like maybe still adjusting. But yeah, I think just keep
going, and just like she said as well, that focus on what you want to do and then just keep going at it. Yeah.
Lovely. And Fizza, before we open to the floor for questions.
Yes. Like everyone knows, developed markets are developed, they're saturated, but the scope for growth in an emerging market is unparalleled. India is the talk of the world now. We are the next biggest economy and we're on our way there. So the way you can grow in your career here, it's rare that you would abroad. And like I always say, if you manage working in India, you can work anywhere in the world.
Yes.
It will train you for the toughest days you have ahead. So you're in a good space with a lot of potential. Give yourself time, have different work experiences, figure out what you want. There's no pressure and there's a long way ahead here.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. You know, I have actually got 3 daughters at home, and I'm not one of those parents that says, oh gosh, you must get something straight away, right? It's really important that you take your time. You've got the next 60 to 70 years of your working life ahead of you. So make those really careful, considered decisions. Take your time with your applications. Do all your research so you can really, really stand out from the crowd in a very saturated market when you're invited to interview. But the main thing is just take a breath, take your time, research, use all of the support that's available to you. Now, King's College London offers a huge amount of support to alumni in that career space, much more than other universities offer. And we're also really trying to improve or increase our in-country engagement. So use us and tell your peers about us as well. Yeah, but take your time with it. Okay, so we've got a few in the audience here. Unfortunately, we can't take questions from the live stream, but have you got any questions for our alumni? We've also got the opportunity for the mixer. So we've got time just maybe to be outside with alumni and with myself if you've got any questions that you just want to ask on an individual basis. But we could maybe wrap this up, Dan. What do you think? Yeah? Okay, well, that just really leaves me to say a huge thank you to our phenomenal alumni who really have shared so much really, really good, positive advice, but lots and lots of tips to ensure that you succeed in the India market. Stay connected, right? So hopefully you'll all go away and maybe send lots of personalized invitations to connect to Shayoni, Priyanka, Fizza and Ayushi. They've got a lot to share. They've worked the space really well, right? So do use them, use the career support. But thank you so much for coming tonight. Hopefully you'll join us for a few drinks and some food. And again, thank you to our alumni. Finally, I just want to say a huge thank you to a few people that are in the digital space. So I'd like to say a huge thank you to Martina and Ayane for making it all happen the UK end. I'd really like to say thank you to Palak and Sonu and Doran for making it happen the India end. And of course to Dan Maggs, because he's kind of paid for it all. Yay! And that brings it to a close. So please do join us for some food and drink.